Super. Thank you so much. And for those who don't know me, my name is Carolyn. I am one of the Seeing Whiteness doulas, and on behalf of this community of practice, I'm so happy to have you guys all here today. We're excited to be starting to gather on a monthly basis again. You'll also hear about weekly opportunities. But I thought what we could do is start with a little bit of a breathing exercise. We're going to do this from My Grandmother's Hands by Resma Menachem. Feel free to go off camera if you'd like to. But maybe just start by taking a couple of deep breaths. Get comfortable in your seat. And let your body relax as much as it wants to. Then think of a person, an animal, or a place that makes you feel safe and secure. And now imagine that this person or animal is beside you, or you're in that safe place. Breathing naturally, let yourself feel that safety and security for about a minute. Feel into your body. Where does it seem constricted or uncomfortable or unwell in any way? Note each of these locations. Pick one of these locations and focus on it. For a few seconds, let yourself experience the constriction or discomfort. Then once again, visualize the person, animal, or place that helps you feel safe and secure. Imagine you're in that place or that animal or person is beside you. Experience this safety for a moment or two. And do this for each part of your body that feels uncomfortable or constricted. When you're ready, come back. Okay. So we wanted to quickly do a little exercise, just go into, I think we'll do threes instead of pairs since there are 9 of us. And I'll put this in the chat, or actually I'll broadcast it when we get into our breakout rooms. But what we're going to do is have everybody state your name and where you're from. And then one thing that you can't tell just by looking at you and why it's important for you to tell us that. Okay, so give me a second. I'll work on the breakout rooms and then I'll broadcast the instructions again.
Hi.
Have we lost some people in cyberspace? Oops, you are muted.
Keeps muting me in and out. Yeah, they had a minute to close the room, so hopefully they'll be back. Yep, here they come.
Great.
Okay, I think we got a few more to come back.
Right, so
There you are.
super. Well, the next thing that we'd like to do is ask Shelley if she'll just read these desired outcomes. We'll put them in the chat, but it's a way to remind you of the values that you aspired to when you did a Seeing Whiteness group, and the outcomes that we hope would be happening over time as you left. So, or I can if they're not available to you.
I'll get them in there.
I've got them. I mean, I have them.
Yeah, go ahead.
Choose to engage in this work for our whole lives long. Be honest. Honesty spurs racial healing, justice, and equity. Seek discomfort. Without challenge, there is no change. Develop skills and stamina to work in and through moments of racial stress. Be emboldened. With courage and grace, I give feedback on racism, and I seek, accept, and act on feedback on my racism. Notice, name, and disrupt the ways we protect white dominant norms and culture. Stop holding racism in place. Develop and deepen authentic interpersonal relationships beyond my racially segregated life, and participate in repair of relationships and return of resources.
Thank you. I'm going to move us right into the guidelines that you all did along the way. And my name's Jill. I know most everyone, but not everyone on this call. And I have to say, I was in a circle that was starting yesterday, like for 6 weeks, that I'll be helping out a little bit with. But my strongest feeling was that this way was completely fresh to me in that moment. And that the people that are on this call and myself today, I'm acting as the facilitator or doula, with all respect, with full respect to people who actually are doulas in the world in terms of helping to bring children into the world, or the doulas that help people transition out. It's not meant to make things easy, but to be accompanied and to have someone with you who's accompanying you. And so I'm both a full participant and also holding the space a bit. So I'll be starting a 6-week circle pretty soon just for myself. And I've done a number of them, but that would be my personal testimony. And the way we always begin at the conversation guidelines, this is the rooting of all of it. And I'm going to just offer them, and I'm giving a picture in your head to remind you of maybe one way to look at them. And then from there, I'll introduce the noticing practice. And we will go into pairs and practice that, which I think, in my sense, is that's what you came for, is to have that opportunity to pause and notice for the purposes of crashing down racism and liberation for all people in your life and in the world. So here they are. I think they're going to be in the chat. Practice self-focus. You might remember that Robin DiAngelo quote where she says, whenever we talked about race, we would talk about, it was someone else's race we were talking about, not mine. So practice self-focus is, what does this have to do with me? We often say, quoting someone else, why be honest when you can be good? Why look at yourself when you can focus on the needs of others? And that's one way that we hold racism in place. So practicing self-focus is just I statements. Where am I in this story? What does it have to do with me? Practice slowing down. Which is what allows me to practice self-focus, because I sort of notice that I'm not. So slowing down, we began with that today. I shared in my group what's something that you wouldn't know just by looking at me. It's important for me to tell you this because I said you wouldn't know that I'm about to actually help lead the rest of this today. And it's important for me to tell you this because my tendency in that moment of grounding would have been to get my notes in order, to think of one more good zinger to offer as an example. And instead, I actually experienced the grounding. And that is not always what I do. And so the slowing down is what fuels so much of what's possible in our capacity. Practice trying on. Think about it like trying on a pair of shoes. You don't have to buy them, but there's so many things that keep us from being curious. We might fear we're saying the wrong thing, taking a risk at offering an idea, even if we're not sure how it's going to land. But there are lots of ways to try something on, and then you can decide what you want to do next. But to not be stopped before you practice something on, trying something on. And then also we sometimes say, don't do what you always do, and then just see what comes your way. So trying on something different, a different way of being with someone else is a way of trying on. And I know the familiar ways, the default ways that I operate. And if I do something different, something different might come my way. The next one, both and thinking, which is just many things can be true at the same time. So we often think, oh, you're doing the wrong thing. We think a lot about like either or thinking, and always we want to practice opening that up. It's so typical to do what's easiest. I'm working with a personal trainer right now, and he reminds me that like my muscle will do the easy thing. The easy thing is either or thinking. Put things in boxes, you get to keep going. So practice both and thinking. Many things can be true at once. It's not okay to shame, blame, or attack yourself or others. A lot of times that'll show up when you do the noticing practice. The fear of that will mean that you want to preface a story a bunch or make sure everybody knows the context before you say something. Don't do that. Trust that this is an environment where we're not going to shame, blame, or attack self or others. Listen more than you talk, unless you're someone who doesn't talk. Then notice just in yourself what those urges are. And for me, I'm often challenged to wait it out. And again, see what might happen if I don't do what I always do, which is tending to fix, keep the conversation going. Silence can be golden. So listen more than you talk. No fixing. That can mean I'm staying in your lane. It can be like how I protect a white dominant norm in my family in a small way. I want to make sure that everybody has what they need to keep going. I don't want to overspeak. I'm orchestrating and manipulating a lot of things when I'm in my particular fixing mode based on my personality, which is not yours. This is just me. It can on a macro level, it can look a lot like the white savior ways we are, that kind of fixing. White dominant culture is real. Racism is bigger than we are, and I'm part of it. Again, practice self-focus, I statements, resist the temptation to distance myself from it. You'll see the next one says there's intent and there's impact. So it's not there's intent versus impact. It's not either or. There's intent, my intentions, someone else, good intentions, and there's impact. And holding that together is central to the both and thinking. When you feel challenged or corrected, take it as a gift. This is a big one. And a big reason we ground is because it builds the muscles to not make things easier or make challenges go away, but to just expand my capacity to stay in it, to stay present, and to not have that amygdala response of fight, flight, freeze. So it's possible then to take feedback, which can sometimes feel like a threat, and have it switch around so that I might take it as a gift. And then all that's a lot more possible if I'm slowing down, because then I'll just notice the things I'm feeling and just say, oh, that's that thing I always feel because of, my mother or my family. I'm always concerned about that, but I'm going to slow down and take it as a gift. Similarly, when you feel challenged or defensive, take a position of curiosity instead, because when I'm curious, it deflates defensiveness, and I start to consider being curious about myself, like what's going on with me in this moment. That helps. lean in when you need to, leave out when you need to. And then I guess I'd just say, take a moment, like maybe out loud, if there's one that's a real growing edge for you. A way of setting intention is just to say out loud, this is one that it's a growing edge that I really want to be paying attention to. Anybody, just popcorn it out for another minute.
Intention and impact.
Mm-hmm. You
For
can say
me-
if you want. Go ahead. Yeah.
For me, slowing down and listening more than I talk.
Practice trying on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Reframing.
Mine would be, oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was saying reframing defensiveness as curiosity.
Mhm.
Same.
I was going to start with listen more, and the first step is to be curious.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
I definitely struggle with my fixer. I just want to fix everything. And it's out of control. So that's what I wanted to check.
Yeah. Great. Okay. Thank you. And unless you've got amounts of
Jill, we're losing you.
big muscle learning, and then you realize there's all these little muscles, it often comes down, fixing keeps showing up. It's not in the ways that it might have been before, but just all those tendencies and how that can kind of in some ways be self-soothing for me. It's just easier if things are a way that I can manage them. It's easier if people are better than they were 2 seconds ago, all these things that real engagement from happening, and also keep me from maybe even being really used out a little bit longer and figure out what the real opportunity or need is instead of just the thing that'll make me feel better in the moment. So give that some thought today as well.
Jill, you're cutting in and out quite a bit. I don't know if you know that.
I did not know that. Gosh, and I love what I just said.
We
I
heard
do-
most of it.
You did too. You said that fixing is a defense mechanism, I think is what you said. And that being present and not fixing is the alternative.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, if I bump out again, will you just do this immediately? Don't wait and don't be polite. Okay. Which sort of brings me to the next point. As we go into the noticing practice now, kind of an important question to ask is, who is really adverse to being interrupted? If you really would not want anyone to interrupt you while we're on this call today. Okay. If you're okay with being interrupted with someone on this call, would you raise your hand? You're all right with that? Okay, cool. I say that because we have these 3 different questions that we ask in a moment, and it's what mattered and how did it matter? What did you feel in this moment? Maybe where could you show some courage? What was the learning for you? And the tendency is to try to tell a big story, to give it lots of context, and to make sure that people know exactly what's going on so nobody judges you. Don't do that, right? And if you fall into that, which is normal because you're a human being, you're basically saying to your partner, it's really okay with me if you say, oh, now, Shelley, remember, or here's a way to think about it. What mattered in the story to you, and how did it matter? Why are you sharing this? What's important about it? And that can help people. Or just, how about, what did you feel? So that's why I've just asked if you're okay with being interrupted. So here's the 3 ways, if you remember, to think about this. You're thinking not in the deep past, you're thinking this week or maybe last week, and I'll offer one to get us going too. a place or routine when you're free of the burden of race or being seen racially. Could be a time when being white seemed to matter or make a difference. You might have proceeded differently if you hadn't been you. Or an experience of racial stress this week. The moment may have been fleeting. You're going to recall a time that you felt some defensiveness or discomfort, unsure of what to do or say, or misunderstood. And the moment may have been across race, or it may have been an interaction or conversation with someone of your own race. And from there, and I think these are showing up in the chat in a minute here. And from there, you're with your partner, and you'll be with a partner. The question that one person might ask the other, actually, would someone ask me as if they're my partner? And I'll be the person that goes first. Anybody?
Jill, what mattered and how did it matter?
You're going to tell me the story. What did you feel? What mattered and how did it matter? Okay. And I'm going to briefly offer it. So I'm with my family at a dinner table. There's conversation about reparations. There are two guests at the table I don't know well. They're older people. Someone at the other end of the table says something about not all slaves are bad people, that kind of thing. And my dad is sitting next to me. This is literally this Sunday night, and he's sitting next to me, and he says, "Well, Jill knows a lot about this topic." And I just didn't take the bait, in my view. And then the conversation keeps going. It turns to monuments, and when monuments should come down. And again, my dad said, and the question of what can you do? A lot of about talk. And my dad said again, well, I think Jill has some things to say. And what happened is what mattered is I did speak. I spoke very finite. And I spoke to one thing that a person can do. And I used kind of I language, and it's in our family, which is making records, anything you know, working really hard to make it available to people who are descended from slavery, because we have a lot of information. What mattered and how, and of course, I could tell you lots more things about that in the conversation, right?
Well, what did you feel?
Yeah, what I feel is I felt very nervous at front. I felt it was going to be a gotcha moment. I felt exposed. I felt like I was about to be duped by my father. I also felt overwhelmed, like, oh my God, there's so many things I'm going to respond to at this table. I can really see the guy at that end. And in that moment, what mattered and how did it matter is that I said something particular that made sense. I didn't say everything. But the how did it matter for me is that, my dad was actually not trying to do me. I'm pretty clear on that now. But I am so socialized in the ways that I am in my family, that it was pretty hard for me to assume affection in that moment. So how did it matter? Which I would say, what was the learning for me? It was that I have some capacity, and that evening I did, to kind of be where I was. I attribute that to the slowing down, to take the piece that was coming my way, which was a question about what can you do, and and be there. So that's it. The courage would be other things later. But yeah, go ahead, Pam.
No, I was going to ask you, where did you or could you show some courage?
Yeah. I think I called my dad afterwards, and I said kind of what I told y'all. That felt just a looping back. And there's other ways too. So thank you. So when you're in your group, you're going to let the person speak. And then after they are done, give it several seconds, because they may by themselves come up with whatever is next that they want to say. You'll each have, I think, 4 minutes. Is that right, Carolyn?
Yeah.
So after a couple minutes, if the person's finished, just give them a few seconds to go. If they're going on and you don't think they're getting very far, you could say, hey, remember these questions. What mattered? How did it matter? What'd you feel? If you used a guideline, what did you notice? Where did you turn to? And then switch, and we'll come back and see how that went for people. Okay, are there questions? before we go, any questions? Okay, and
I'm
it's
just-
going to be quiet, and if you don't have one, as we say, I would just sit quietly. I would take your time, and maybe something will bubble up. But this is your opportunity, so don't lose it by just filling the space. That's a challenge. You may not take what I just said, but you could just sit quietly.
Okay, just letting you all know that I put the desired outcomes, the full list in the chat. I've also put the exercise in the chat, and I'm about to reopen breakout rooms. Typically, we would all be in the same breakout rooms, but because we have more folks now in an even number, we'll do this in pairs. And like Jill said, we have about 8 minutes. And so I'll broadcast at 4 minutes, so you notice to switch.
And you
So
know
give
what, Carolyn, you may want to encourage people to just copy that chat and put it somewhere in their computer because they're not going to be able to see it.
Very good
So,
idea.
you guys, I'm going to copy mine and just stick it in my notes real quick so that I can look at it once I'm in my small group.
And remember, the breakout rooms are not recorded.
Mhm.
Okay. So assuming you've had the chance to capture it, I'm going to open the rooms.
just for a couple of minutes, you guys please unmute yourselves. No one needs to be muted unless there's a large dog. Just for a couple of minutes, if there's something, a gem, something that you would want to name from your experience, please do. Or how was that for you? Or something that you came up that you'd want to share?
I think for me, what people share, what my partner shared, what I shared, it's so complex and layered. Some of the, wonderings and lessons to be learned, or is that the lesson to be learned? Like, what is that I found myself wanting more conversation to further unpack. Where is this really something that I need to learn about my white supremacy kind of lens, and where is it no, I'm putting something on myself that is not, we're humans here together also. Yeah, I'm not articulating it that well, but I just want to really talk about both these situations more.
I will volunteer and say, when I think about what was shared in our breakout group, I think of myself and I feel like I am still stuck. What I shared in my noticing practice is the same thing I noticed 6 months ago. So it's good to be aware of that.
Thanks, Cindy. One more person.
I guess I can share that in the thing that I noticed, the courage was in doing nothing and being still, which is really counterintuitive sometimes.
Thank you. Yes, there are so many ways to show courage. Most of them are not out in the world. Pushing hearts usually the waiting, the not. So thanks, Jessica, for lifting that up. And also, Peggy, thanks for lifting up the more. You will always be cut off, if you remember from the 6 weeks of doing this in these circles. And that's not all bad to sort of say there was really a lot more here. Boy, I thought it was just a moment in time. There's a whole lot going on there. And it's not all the same. But I would do well to attend to some of these threads and untangle this moment. And so I hope you'll take some time for journaling as well. And I can connect you to your partner later if you like. I'm going to switch it over to finish at the time today. But we didn't really let y'all say your name. Just go around and say your name. I'm Jill. Okay, never mind. We're going to do a closing and do it then. Ben, I'm going to name you because it is a very white group. And you are a Black man, and I have been in a circle with you with the Catholic, and I think that's something to say up front. I also want to recommend to everybody, I hope in a future month, we will have a speaker who's John Blake, who's just written an incredible book called More Than You Can Imagine, More Than I Imagined, which is about his life as a biracial person. And he was in one of the circles that we had very early on as the one Black man in a white circle. And that's a lot of the reflections that I've done to imagine even how these groups happen. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Pam. I'm going to turn it over to you, Pam.
It's been so wonderful to be with everyone today. And I really appreciate everyone for being here, and Carolyn and Shelley for moving us to reinstituting these monthly gatherings. As Jill said, we'll be gathering again next month as a community on the 28th of June. And so mark noontime, 28th of June, as an opportunity to come together And we wanted to start out with noticing practice today because that is what is core to each of our journeys individually and our commonality. Next month or the next month, we may have speakers or opportunities, as Jill mentioned, lots of folks to reflect on disrupting racism, developing and deepening relationships across race, and engaging in reparations or repair and return. So that's one next step. We also gather weekly on Fridays. It's just an open space for noticing practice. I've put it in the chat. It's on a Zoom and from 12 to 1. Some people come when they have something on their heart that happened in the past week that you want to unpack. And some people come on a more regular basis to hold the space for others to learn from community or just to have some accountability to the anti-racist healing and journey that we each are on. So Fridays at noon to 1 is another time when you might want to be part of this community. The third thing is that we have, my small group asked, we've actually convened tens of circles and hundreds of people, approaching like 500 people now who have participated in the 6 sessions of Seeing Whiteness. And if you would like to participate again or convene a group in your community, either of friends or at your workplace or in a community that you care about, that is the Google form to express interest so that we know to reach out to you to talk about either you as an individual or someone you know or some group you know who would like to take on the 6 sessions as a practice. The way we always close these circles is by an appreciation, a learning, a relearning, or a regret. And I think this is what Jill meant. This is the time for you. Please say your name. And an appreciation, learning, relearning, or regret could be out in voice in the air or in the chat. And then I'll bring us back and do a 2-minute grounding closing to transition to the next thing.
And part of, I'll say, the regret is just something you can let something go, something that you would like to let go. Because shame and this is nothing to hold on to from power. My relearning with all the stories I can tell makes baking. We had in our small group just something small, and we made it a big story that wasn't even really fact-based.
I'm Jessica. I've appreciated revisiting the conversation guidelines, and I'm currently reading Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach, which ties a lot of that together. And so it's nice to relearn those at the same time that I'm reading that text.
Mm-hmm.
My name's Della, and I always need to slow down and practice self-focus. I always stay with those two, but today I was reminded that I'm still a fixer, and even though maybe I'm more aware of fixing in my life as an adult externally, that my fixing of my children is still front and center, and I have to pay attention to that.
I have some gratitude for helping me to realize that we are in this together, us, and that I can use all of you as a resource for myself and someone to reach out to.
Ben Fanair. I'm grateful to everyone as my coming to join the group is helping me to be aware of the struggles in my striving to stay focused in terms of my own dispositions.
I see Michelle said, grateful for the invitation to participate in the community gathering and for the conversations from today. Mhm.
I'm Cindy, and I just say I'm grateful for being reminded, and how interesting that everyone talked about being fixers, how much fixers need to sit back and notice and let others learn.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm Hakika. I'm grateful to our organizers for putting this together, and the opportunity to unpack something I'd been carrying for a while. I have more to unpack. And I also appreciate seeing even more how insidious white dominant culture exists
Mhm.
in so many ways.
Mhm. Thank
And
you.
not to get too shame or depressed, or but just noticing and then finding my path for how to make something different happen.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who has a closing?
Mhm. Mhm.
We're at 2:01. For anyone who can stay, I've got a reading, and for anyone who needs to jump, thank you so much for being here, and hope we'll see you June 28th or any Friday at noon.
Thank you all.
Yeah, this is from young Pueblo, who wrote a book called Lighter. And it has really framed my personal racial healing journey and anti-racist journey. So I'm just gonna, I can't even see who's left, but for whoever's here, I'm gonna sit up straight in my chair, put my feet on the floor. There are 3 paragraphs. I'm gonna breathe in and breathe out. Maturity is when you can finally ride the ups and downs of life without getting tossed around by them. You don't expect everything to be perfect. You know, change is constant. You don't judge yourself when times get hard. You live in gratitude. You enjoy the good when it is here. I'm going to take another deep breath before the second paragraph. Your immediate reaction does not tell who you are. It is how you decide to respond after the reaction that gives you real insight into how much you have grown. Your first reaction is your past. Your intentional response is your present. Let go more than once. Let go when an old pattern wants to drag you back into the past. Let go when narratives run wild in your mind. Let go every time you try to cause yourself extra trouble. There is healing in repetition. Soon, peace will feel familiar. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Can you say again,
Thank
Pam,
you.
where that came from?
The book is across the room. It's YUNG Young, Pueblo, PUEBLO, and the book is called Lighter.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next
Bye then.
time.
All right then. Thanks.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you. Have a good one then.
Bye. Thank you, Ben.
And
Bye.
I was hoping we would stay on.
Hi.
Thank you, guys.
did.
Great job. Great
Very
job, you
well.
guys. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad. I'm going to stop recording, but I'm glad we recorded because I just always learn so much. And I'm going to go back.
I agree. Jill